New Zealand author Eleanor Catton knocked out her first novel when she was 5 years old. It was a 3-pager. Her master's thesis turned into an award-winning book called The Rehearsal, and now she is this year's Man Booker Prize recipient for her epic tome, The Luminaries, which is 800-plus pages, 832 to be exact. That's swell.
Oh, thank you, yeah. It was a bit of a shock to me, actually, that the book crept to be that long. You know, when you're writing something, obviously it's only as long as it is for, you know, every step along the way. And I became aware at around about the 200,000 word mark that it was getting on to being large, but I didn't kind of have a physical sense of it, actually, until the proofs arrived.
And I'm sure your editor or your publisher is saying, like, how do I carry this around?
Yeah, well, I was so lucky. I've been so lucky with this book, both with my publisher in New Zealand and also in the UK. They're just both, Granta is the publisher in the UK and Victoria University Press in New Zealand, and they're both kind of boutique independent presses with really, really good hearts. And all they care about really is the books. There's no mandate to, you know, to push a writer to do exactly the same thing as they did the first time around or anything like that. So, yeah, I had a lot of people just saying go for it, which is really nice.
And where were you when you got the call from the Man Booker committee or the person? Who calls you?
Well, for the long list, my editor actually called me because the official announcement goes out kind of via the Man Booker people, but they let the editors of all the writers who are on the long list know in advance. And so he actually called me about 5 or 6 times, and my phone was on silent, so I didn't hear it. And then he finally called, and I was in the middle of making dinner, and I was making fish cakes actually, as I was speaking to him on the phone, and everything was just absolutely ruined. It was the most disgusting dinner.
Burnt fish cakes.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Shocked, surprised, or just thrilled?
Well, I mean, yeah, all of the above, I think. Yeah, one of the curious things about the Man Booker Prize is that your publisher in London, it has to be a London-based publisher, actually submits your work kind of on your behalf. Each publisher is only allowed to submit 2 books. So it's such a nice feeling because it's not only that you've been recognised by the prize, but also that your publisher has kind of taken a chance on you.
And at this point, it's a Commonwealth Prize. I hear they're going to open it to North America next year?
Yeah, and I've heard quite compelling arguments both ways as to whether or not this is going to be a good idea. I know that a lot of people are worried that smaller countries and, you know, debut writers and writers who are not maybe so well known are going to get edged out because of this. But I guess we don't really know yet. We'll just have to wait and see.
So now Eleanor Catton goes to London, to Guildhall.
Guildhall, yes.
To meet with the Duchess of Cornwall, Camilla.
Who I can report is a very nice woman. Yeah.
I'm sure. To receive the prize. What was that like?
Well, it was actually a really fun evening, and I think it was because the couple of weeks leading up to the prize ceremony, after the shortlist had been announced, were just so full-on media-wise, and I'd just done so much publicity and was feeling very exposed in a lot of ways. You know, when you're doing a lot of interviews at once, you are trying to entertain yourself by saying something slightly different each time, and what that means necessarily is that you end up saying things that maybe stray a little bit from what you actually believe or whatever. I mean, you make media mistakes. But by the time I got to the ceremony, I knew that it had already been decided, the judges had already met, and I could just have a good time. So, yeah,
So you did.
It was really good.
I bet you haven't been back to New Zealand, because how could you be at the Writers' Festival? Because it was just a few weeks ago.
Oh, actually, it was just last week.
Last week.
Yeah, it was just
when
over
this
a week
airs,
ago.
it'll be a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
When you were a little girl, I read that you wanted to be a writer, but you lied about it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You were kind of embarrassed you wanted to be a writer.
Yeah, I wonder if it was embarrassment. I was a very secretive child with respect to writing. I don't think with respect to anything else, actually. And we had one of those old clunky IBM computers. This is in the very early 90s. And everything that I wrote, I hid on the computer under false document names. And I would often create little folders inside my father's folders for his work. It was quite strange the lengths that I went to make sure that nobody read what it was that I was writing.
And your father, a philosophy professor then, now he's gone back to school to become an engineer, true?
Yeah, he has. I'm really proud of him for doing that, actually. I think it's a really courageous thing to do. He enrolled at 56 and he's going to get his degree by the time he's 60. So
I like that.
yeah, so do I.
Reinvent at 56. Now you get it all the time, and I'm sure you're tired of it. The youngest person ever to win the Man Booker, and the biggest book ever to win the Man Booker.
Every time I hear those things, I kind of weirdly confuse them in my mind and hear the longest writer and the youngest book.
The longest writer. I like that.
I don't think I am the longest writer.
Whatever. Well, at least you're not the oldest writer. I would be that. How did you learn to do this? How did you learn to do this particular work? 19th century style, the dialect of the time. Tell me about the book.
Yeah, well, I think that my belief is that nobody ever knows how to finish a book when they start it. You know, you kind of don't quite have the skills yet to complete the project when you begin, and the book kind of teaches you as much as you learn from it. You know, it's a kind of, it's a very dialogic relationship, I feel, and so I began writing with the ambition of trying to write in the 19th century style, and went back to the novels of the 19th century and just read them kind of greedily, you know, like read them for instruction, and took a whole bunch of notes and tried to kind of live inside them as much as I could.
And to know you've got it right, do you read out loud?
Yeah, actually every night I did while I was writing the Luminaries. When people complain about the length of it, actually I say, well, my partner, to whom I read every evening, has heard this book and read it actually on the page, probably the equivalent of about 8 or 9 times now. So.
And your partner is a poet.
He is a poet, yeah.
Stephen Toussaint.
That's right, yeah.
You met him at the Iowa Writers Workshop. Love at first sight, love at first poem.
We actually didn't read each other's work until we were already together. And it was quite interesting after our relationship kind of developed that we realized we were doing quite similar things but in 2 different disciplines. Yeah.
As you know so well, some writers never share. No one sees their work until it's complete. Well, the editor, but no one else. And you read it to Stephen, set the scene for me. You read it to Stephen, and he says, I hate what you did to that character. And you say...
Well, there have been a few nights like that. One of the funniest things about reading aloud to him was that because there's this astrological dimension to the book, and there are 12 characters in the novel, each of whom typify one of the 12 signs of the zodiac as they kind of manifest in a male personality. That meant that Steve is in the book. And his character doesn't come until maybe about halfway through the book because it takes quite a long time to build. But when it finally did, I got a lot of advice, a lot of notes on his character.
I'm sure.
Initially, his character was quite fat, and Steve made me change that, so now he's much slimmer.
He is. What astrological sign is he?
He's a Cancer.
He's a Cancer, and you're a Libra.
I've just outed him on TV. I don't know if he's going to be very pleased with me.
He'll be fine, I'm sure. But I don't understand the astrological link. I understand 12 characters, 12 signs, 7 planets. How did you begin this, the Luminaries, with astrology in mind? Like, how did it come together?
I mean, it was just playing, really. I was playing around. I hadn't written anything down yet. I hadn't set anything down on paper. And I was still dreaming about what the book maybe could be. And I found this website online, which is actually the companion website to the magazine starandtelescope.com. Star and Telescope at starandtelescope.com is the website. And found this star generator where you could just type in any date and any place on Earth and have a look at what the stars were doing if it's in the past, or will be doing if it's in the future. Right. And thought, okay, I'll have a look at what was happening over the gold fields at the time of the gold rush in New Zealand.
So there really was a gold rush in New Zealand. That's
yes,
truth.
That's truth. Yeah, that's one of the few things that's true in the book. Actually, it's not really a historical novel in the conventional sense. So I typed in. I started in 1864, which was when gold was first discovered on the West Coast, and watched the skies kind of revolve for about 2 weeks of my time, but about I don't know, about 3 or 4 years of Hokitika time.
Right.
And I wasn't really sure what I was looking for, but as I was watching, you know, I was kind of playing with this program. I lit upon the idea that I could use the dance of the heavens as a kind of organizing principle for the book.